back to the title page, we are looking at the capabilities, or we are examining the capabilities of Kenya's TVET institutions in instilling soft skills. Now, TVET in Kenya refers to technical and vocational education and training. Now, this is the technical institutions in Kenya. So we are looking at their capabilities in instilling soft skills to students attending these institutions. Now, if you go to the background, we are looking at the background of this paper seeks to explore the capabilities and capacities of TVET institutions, instructors in inculcating soft skills among youth attending TVET institutions in Kenya. Now, this paper is part of a larger study that was done in the last quarter of 2018, which was examining the extent to which TVET institutions contribute the production of soft skills. Now, soft skills is what is embodied in the whole youth development aspect. So, the larger study informed this paper. So, the larger study interacted or interviewed students, instructors, and institutional heads. But now this paper is largely focusing on the instructors and institutional heads, because you're looking at the capacities of the institutions to produce a well informed students on aspects of soft skills. So, all youth in a nutshell comprises of academic and non-academic training and development. A youth who is well conversant or well equipped in academic skills or aspects, and equally equipped on non-academic aspects like communication skills, teamwork, perseverance, and other core values like integrity, honesty. That is a wholly developed youth. So how are TVET institutions, for instance in Kenya, are prepared to produce a youth who is an all-encompassing individual of this nature? In Kenya, about 1 million youth enter the labor market annually with varied skills, with varied level of skills as well. Now, against the very few job opportunities in Kenya, who then gets the job among these 1 million people? It's that one individual who exhibits both academic and non-academic skills. Now, that forms also lends to the study of the paper. How are TVET institutions wired or prepared to produce students who have all these skills to compete fairly or at higher level in terms of access to labor market, or in terms of access to job? A question that we need to ask is, how are youth accorded these skills? It's undisputed that today youths have difficulty in accessing and retaining and creating jobs because they lack these skills. So that forms the basis of this paper or the study. Now, the methodology adopted for this paper was data was collected from TVET instructors, like I've mentioned, and TVET institutional heads in 3 TVET categories, that is national polytechnics, national technical training institutes, and vocational training centers. This was a cross-sectional study, and so a cross-sectional survey design was adopted, and the study was carried out in 9 counties out of the 47 counties in Kenya. Of the 9 counties, 8 had national polytechnics, but 1 didn't have, but was included for purposes of representativeness of the marginalized areas. Now, this is Turkana, which was representing marginalized areas. However, Garissa, which also represents, if I can indicate to you, Garissa here, which also is coming from marginalized area, or which is from marginalized location, had a national polytechnic. So while it was included to give representation to marginalized areas like Turkana, it favored us because it had a national polytechnic. So we found that a total of 8, that is Garissa, Kakamega, Kisumu, Meru, Mombasa, Nairobi, Nyeri, and Uasin Gishu, all had national polytechnics except Turkana. In total, we visited 182 institutions, and in each institution we were targeting 2 instructors, which meant that we were supposed to have reached 364 instructors. However, we managed to reach 347 instructors. In terms of institutional heads, we ought to have reached a total of 182, one institutional head per institution, but we managed to reach 171. Analytically, the paper adopted a descriptive analytical approach, which was exploratory in nature. If we look at results, what does the results say? So, looking at instructors' capability for the production of whole youth development, we find that males deemed themselves well prepared to train the courses they teach more than the female instructors at 93 and 89%. Looking at private versus public, we find there's no much difference, meaning that the instructors from public and private more or less had equal level of skill set. Look at 91, 92. Rather, while expectation might be that private might be more skilled or more able, but we find that there's no difference in terms of type, both that is private or public. Now, if you look at instructors training on whole youth development skills, we find that we had 4 categories of skills, of whole youth development skills. That is the academic skills, life skills, core values, and socio-emotional skills. Now, we wanted to understand the performance of these skills by gender. If we look at gender, we find that female instructors performed well, relatively well, in life skills, core values, and socio-emotional skills better than their male counterparts. If you look at this, you'll find socio-emotional skills slightly higher compared to that of males. The same applies to core values, and the same to life skills. The only point that males comes and surpass females slightly is under academic skills. Now, if we look at the private and public, you find that the private slightly outdo the public. What contributes, before I go there, if you look at the performance in these skills, you find that 60.1% is the highest, and this is for life skills. This gives us indication that these skills are less prioritized, and this is confirmed by an in-depth interviewee. An in-depth interview respondent who mentioned that the general attitude is that most institutions have not yet understood the values, the importance of core values and soft skills in relation to employment. So the moment these instructors or institutions place less importance or priority to these skills, it translates to less prioritized training of these skills to students. So the moment these instructors will get more grip or understanding of the role soft skills or whole youth development aspect contribute to employment of youth, the more they'll put more emphasis on the same. But until then, we will expect the trend to remain the same. Now, if you look at instructors' highest level of academic qualification, you find that generally, in all, a good proportion of these instructors had either college or university education. If you look at this, we have about 95% of instructors having either college or university education. However, if we look at by county, we find that counties like Kakamega and Kisumu had a notable proportion of instructors not having secondary education. And this is not surprising, because in the finding we found that in Kakamega and Kisumu counties had the highest students enrolled in artisan courses. And these artisan courses requires instructors who don't have much educational qualifications except experience. So this explains, we found that these two counties had low reveals that these counties have significant proportion, a notable proportion of unlearned, less learned instructors, and that could explain or contribute to low levels of reported soft skill infusion in these skills, not only to soft skill or non-academic skills, but even academic skills, because qualifications translates to attainment of knowledge. Instructors, if you look at completion of refresher courses in the last 3 years, we find that 43% of instructors, only 43% had gone or undertaken a refresher course in the last 3 years. So if anything had changed in the last 3 years in the course of training or curriculum, you find that only 43% would have acquired these skills, with 57% lacking out in this. In private, we find that in terms of category, private slightly did better than public in terms of training or encouraging their instructors to acquire new skills. Now, there are some interventions that have been put in place to promote OWD in TVET institutions, and the following suffice. There's a new curriculum in place, and it's called the competency-based education and training curriculum, which is being currently enrolled in TVET institutions, and this is purposely to enable instructors to infuse both academic and non-academic skills, because non-academic skills are so far been entrenched in this new curriculum, and now instructors are expected to emphasize on the same to the students they teach. In conclusion, the pedagogical practices, assessment procedures, and inadequate prioritization of soft skills by the instructors' training curriculum hinder the production of soft skills, like we mentioned there. If they place less importance on these skills, it's most likely that they'll put less priority on teaching these skills. Results indicate that instructors' capabilities are lowest for VTCs, and rightly so high for national polytechnics. Why? Because national polytechnics, like we found out earlier, are high in the hierarchy. So you'll find national polytechnics are higher, they're followed by technical training institutes, followed by vocational training centers. Now, this also translates to endowment in terms of material, human resource, teachers, and laboratories, workshops. National polytechnics fare well compared to VTCs, and this explains why there's low capabilities for vocational training centers. There's need to reduce hindrances such as professional development and staffing to improve acquisition of skills by the instructors. A newly revamped curriculum is in place, and it is expected that the students going through TVET will be able to exhibit more or less equal exhibition of both academic and non-academic skills. Now, what remains to be seen is, with the new curriculum, will there be increased coverage in the 4 skills, like we mentioned: life skills, core values, academic skills, and socio-emotional skills. Implications for the Kenyan TVET education system. There's need for increased awareness among instructors on the relevance of whole youth development for youth employment. 2, there should be structured and continued in-service training of instructors that is mandatory. If it's in the system, it's known these instructors need to have this for them to be liable to teach. There's also need for integration of all youth development in teaching practice to enable instructors incorporate both academic and non-academic skills into their teaching. Thank you.